This is Charlie Crockett, Texas musician and descendant of Davy Crockett, inviting you to visit the Alamo. It's not the same Alamo you, remember. There's lots of new things to experience, like the 500 artifacts inside the Alamo exhibit at the Ralston Family Collection Center, the new Mission Gate and Lunette outdoor exhibit, and Surrounded, the Alamo Augmented Experience. It's all part of an ongoing restoration and expansion that will write the Alamo's next chapter. So don't wait. Plan your visit today at thealamo.org.
Stories bigger than Texas, the Alamo Podcast. As we close out a year of unprecedented growth at the Alamo, we are celebrating a major milestone in the Alamo Plan. This week, the pedestrian-friendly Plaza De Valero will be open for the community and visitors to enjoy. Today, we reveal what you'll see at Plaza De Valero, why this community space is so vital, and how it will become the premier community gathering space in the heart of downtown San Antonio. I'm your host, Emily Baucom. We're joined by Alamo Trust, Inc. Executive Director, Dr. Kate Rogers. Thank you so much for coming back on the podcast.
Thank you, Emily.
Before we get to what's new at Plaza De Valero, let's chat about how did we get here? Could you share the journey that led to the decision to close this part of Alamo Street to vehicle traffic and rethink the space?
Sure. Well, I think part of the Alamo Master Plan really is about restoring a sense of reverence and respect to the site. Part of that included making most of the Alamo Historic District pedestrian only. So as you know, Alamo Street historically has been open to vehicular traffic and really was designed to accommodate cars and buses and so forth. That led to high levels of noise across the site, sometimes dangerous or safety issues because you don't want pedestrians and cars interacting with each other in an ideal world. But it also led to the creation of a lot of bollards and curbs and things for safety that are just not that attractive, not things that you would necessarily want within the historic district. And so, it started off with that vision, that concept that we were going to close Alamo Street to make it a more pedestrian-friendly area, but then it required a lot of negotiation between the city of San Antonio, the Texas General Land Office, community stakeholders, to get to a place where everybody could agree on what the design would be like.
And that happened in the form of a lease amendment. What's
Yes.
the brief summary of that?
Several stages to the lease amendment. So there is a lease. It's a 50-year lease with an extension up to 99 years between the Texas General Land Office and the city of San Antonio. And originally, they were all different parcels. It's a bit confusing of what was included in the first lease that was passed. Back in 2018 was when the city council approved the idea that Alamo Street would be closed permanently, as well as a section of Houston Street closest to the Alamo. Then right when I got here in 2021, we had the next extension of the lease, and then a little more than a year later, we passed another extension which actually transferred control of the Plaza De Valero over to the state of Texas under the purview of the Texas General Land Office and us at the Alamo Trust.
And just to give people the lay of the land, we consider this a separate space from Alamo Plaza.
It is. So Alamo Plaza is land that is technically owned by the city of San Antonio, but it sits directly in front of the Alamo Church. It's also where the famous Cenotaph Monument is located. It's where the Christmas tree right now is in front of the church. Plaza De Valero is more like the front entrance to the Menger Hotel, and at one time would have been a community gathering space some 300 years ago for Mission San Antonio de Valero. So it's always been envisioned to be a place for community to gather, but then for a while, because of commercial encroachment and the presence of cars, that kind of went away for a moment.
So there's Alamo Plaza, the Mission Gate and Lunette outdoor exhibit, and then Plaza De Valero.
That is correct, yes.
And the Alamo has data showing how many people enter the site from the south.
Yes, so the majority of our visitors come from two places. As you know, we're a very porous site, so there's lots of ways to enter the Alamo, and no, we're not putting up glass walls around Alamo Plaza. But the majority come either from the south, so think that's down where the convention center is, many of the hotels that are, prominent in downtown San Antonio located to the south, or up from the Riverwalk. And from both directions, what we're trying to do is create a sense of arrival so that the moment you've stepped onto the historic footprint, you have arrived at the Alamo. And so the Mission Gate and Lunette offers that for our visitors coming from the south, which is more than 30%. The other 30% that's coming up from the river, the future Paseo del Alamo, will offer the same thing.
And speaking of the Mission Gate, we have seen in the couple of months since it opened, people coming at all hours of the day and night after we've closed, before we open, to take in that history. And they'll get to enjoy Plaza De Valero as well.
Absolutely. So these are spaces that are free and open to the public. All the outdoor exhibits are open at night. In fact, I would say the Mission Gate Luneta is actually quite beautiful at night because of the lighting. You wouldn't think that a military fortification would necessarily be beautiful, but it really is. And just want to remind your listeners that that interpretation was created by local artist Carlos Cortez, who works in Faubois. So it's a structure that is made out of concrete, but designed to look like adobe and wood, and he did a really beautiful job.
Well, closing down such a major street for construction presents many challenges for visitors and neighbors alike. You mentioned neighbors like our nearby hotels, like the Manger. The Alamo really worked closely with them to make this as painless as possible.
We really try. I mean, construction is tough, and we've got streets that are closed. We've got fences up for construction. I'm excited because the construction fences currently surrounding Plaza De Valero are going to come down December the 20th. And that will really open up the heart of the Alamo Historic District. But our neighbors have really been very patient. And we try to work with them on signage to make sure that pedestrians know that their businesses are still open, be that a restaurant or a hotel, to work to reroute valet, for example, when we need to for the hotels in the area. I can't say enough good things about our friends and neighbors because I think, while it is short-term pain, they recognize the long-term payoff when our visitorship grows to 2.5 million people a year.
Normally I edit this out, but you can hear construction in the background.
Yeah.
Very apropos for downtown San Antonio
Indeed.
right now.
It's the sound of progress.
Now, when people walk through Plaza De Valero, what will they experience?
Well, it will be a beautiful green space. So, it's not a huge park on the scale of Hemisphere, for example, but it is a park. In the middle is a beautiful grassy lawn. It's got a great pavilion in it, so we can do programming. So think that could be history talks, that could be our 4th of July event, our Christmas programming, but it also could be a movie night. So you could be watching the John Wayne Alamo movie and sitting out on the lawn and enjoying a picnic. So it's got a lot of shade and planting to help, control the temperature a bit. So we think it'll be, a really great space.
Lots of possibility for people to bring picnic blankets and really create family moments.
Yes, indeed. And that's what we hope for the future is that, we're trying to bring back some of the events that have maybe relocated away from downtown, be that Christmas. The city's working hard with Holidays on Houston to get people to come back downtown. At Christmas time, we have our own plans to help support that effort. But Stars and Stripes Salute is another one, 4th of July. There's a city the size of San Antonio should have many different options for families to enjoy on 4th of July. We're very thrilled last year. That was our first year to do that event. We had an amazing drone show that covered the 300-year history of the Alamo, and people just loved it. It was free, open to the public, and thousands of people came down to the plaza.
We had an estimated 6,000 people for Stars and Stripes Salute, and that was even with construction fences. So imagine.
It was so great, too, because, we had military bands play, so a very patriotic evening, but also just to offer that to our patrons from San Antonio, our neighbors. We want them to know and to think of the Alamo as their space, not just for tourists and visitors.
So you alluded to this. We're going to be adding one more big surprise to Plaza De Valero. Coming soon, a centerpiece flagpole with a twist.
That's right. So it'll be, roughly 60 feet tall. So it's, a pretty sizable pole. And most of the time, it'll fly a flag, be that the Texas flag, the American flag, depending on the time of the year or what we're celebrating. But we're very excited because at Christmas time annually, starting in 2025, that will be an illuminated tree. So it's not a tree of the sort that you might go and chop down in the woods, but think made of string lights, but a beautiful pyramid and one that you could stand underneath it. If you've ever experienced that, they have a similar feature in Austin in Zilker Park, but you can stand underneath it and really enjoy the lights. So again, we hope it's something that draws people downtown. They can enjoy the Riverwalk alongside what's happening at the Alamo.
I can just hear people asking, but what about the tree on Alamo Plaza? We wouldn't be taking
that
away.
It's not going anywhere because, people want to be able to take that photo. We want to keep that real tree, the tradition of having that in front of the church so families can come down and take their portraits there.
Are there any sustainability features built into the design of Plaza De Valero, like landscaping choices or green infrastructure?
I would say that there are significant sustainability features built into all of the hardscape and landscape that we're doing. We have a wonderful partner in OJB, which is the Office of Jim Burnett, based in Dallas, but also offices all over. And they have a long track record of doing very sustainable park projects in particular. So in Plaza De Valero, of course, we focused on native plants and grasses. So things that can survive our sometimes harsh climate here in San Antonio. You know, that means the deluge of rain that comes all in the span of a couple of hours, all the way to we don't get rain for days and days and days. And so we really tried to focus on native plant material. In addition to that, it has a very large rainwater harvesting and capture cistern right in the heart of the park. It's over 167,000 gallons. So think about an underground swimming pool, if you will. And people always ask, but what if there's no rain? So the idea is that, yes, it does capture rain when that happens. And when we do get a really heavy, dramatic rain event, it'll be able to keep that water. But then also we can fill the cistern with regular San Antonio water if needed.
It's also been really exciting to see trees being added and planted in downtown San Antonio.
Agreed. And I would say even, spending time out there, in addition to the trees, which obviously offer shade and a lot of cover, just the plant material itself, because of the density of it, it helps to cool things down. You can feel it as you're walking around the plaza, because we know that heat on the plaza can sometimes be a challenge. And so the idea is that not just are we making this pedestrian friendly and that you're not dealing with cars as you're crossing Alamo Plaza, but also keeping it cool and comfortable.
Another aspect of being pedestrian friendly is being accessible. We see people in wheelchairs and walkers with canes, and we want people of all abilities to enjoy the Alamo.
Absolutely. And I would say historically, that has not necessarily been the case. There's quite a number of steps, and as I mentioned, curbs and so forth throughout the grounds and throughout the site. And so part of what our objective is in all that we do is to focus on sustainability and accessibility. So places like the Paseo del Alamo, which connects to the Riverwalk, historically has not been very accessible if you're a person with any sort of disability, mobility issue, and in the future that will not be the case.
When you come on the podcast, you talk in the role of executive director, but what people may forget sometimes is that you're a mom. You've got a family. You want to come take your kids to enjoy these events at the Alamo and across downtown San Antonio. So putting on that cap for a minute, what is your hope for what Plaza De Valero becomes 50 years from now, 100 years from now?
I mean, my biggest hope is that it becomes a place that's well known for family traditions. So we talked about a couple of those opportunities, that children in the future will grow up and remember mom and dad taking them down to see the lighted Christmas tree, both in the plaza and at Plaza De Valero, maybe enjoying the holiday market alongside that, some traditional crafts from the 1830s in Texas. And that's something that they remember. We did that every year. And the same with Stars and Stripes Salute. We're Military City, USA. The Alamo literally sits in the heart of the city. The city literally grew around Mission San Antonio de Valero when it was a San Antonio mission. I think that's the biggest thing. And then, I'm not just a mom, I'm a mom of teenagers, and teenagers can be a tough crowd. And so I want my teenagers to also, and even older kids, to find this to be a very enriching and enlightening experience, something that they don't dread, where they're saying, I don't want to go down there because it's boring. Instead, they're saying, yeah, I want to go down to the Alamo because it's really fun, it's really exciting, and there's a lot to do.
That's where the cool things happen.
That's where the cool things happen, like drone shows, Emily.
Exactly. The opening of Plaza De Valero is a true significant milestone in the Alamo Plan. How does this milestone reflect the broader vision of the Alamo Plan? And then what does it mean to you personally to get to this point?
Well, I feel like, if you haven't been down to the grounds recently, there is a tremendous amount of construction going on. But I want to clear up one misconception. We are not closed. There is construction, but the Alamo is still open. And in fact, there's visitors here all day, every day. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is this has been a long time coming. We've been talking about this improvement plan at the Alamo literally for decades, probably 50 years or more. And multiple plans have been advanced. None have really gotten over the finish line, but this is yet another, we opened the collection center. This is another huge milestone in the $550 million redevelopment. The education center is under construction, going to open in late 2025. And the Visitor Center Museum is now under construction. to see the transformation of those Crockett block buildings, sometimes I walk around and I just have to pinch myself to say, I can't believe this is all really happening and simultaneously. And I want to say a huge thank you to all of our partners, right? Our design team, our consultants, our general contractors, our internal team. There's a lot of people working to make this happen. If you're in Plaza De Valero today, people have commented, they said, I've never seen that many workers on a construction site at one time. And it just shows the commitment of everybody to wanting to get this done, get it done on time, on budget, so that the community can enjoy what we've all labored so hard to make happen.
And you said this earlier, Alamo Plaza for generations has been a community gathering space, and now we're just bringing it to a new generation.
Absolutely. And like I said, I hope it's something that people look forward to coming down and doing each and every year. And we will continue to add programming. A couple of weeks from now, some of the members of the team, we're going up to Colonial Williamsburg, which, is not just a historic site, it's a historic resort. And they do Christmas with fireworks and a grand illumination and Yuletide. And that's kind of where we will be in the future. And we're building the team to do that so that the activations that happen at the Alamo are truly world-class and world-renowned.
Well, we can't wait to see what happens in 2025.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. We appreciate your time. Be sure to check out the podcast notes. We've linked to more information about Plaza De Valero and the new Mission Gate and Lunette exhibit. The Alamo podcast will be taking some time off over the holiday week, and we are looking forward to bringing you many exciting news stories in 2025. You've been listening to Stories Bigger Than Texas, the Alamo podcast.